Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. CS nominee, you have said that nothing changes in the things you believe in. And I want to believe if nothing changes, your publicly known stand on the fight against corruption will continue being so even when you join the ministry, if you are approved. And in view of that, you do know the problems that pervade the power sector, especially in regards to the cost of generation of power and what is offloaded to the Kenya Power and Lighting Company. That independent power producers in this country, over the years, since the early 60s and 70s, to date, continue to sell very expensive power to KPLC, while that power that we generate from Kengen, including the green power in Olkaria and Marsabit Wind Power, the solar farms in northern Kenya, are much cheaper. Will Kenyans, or can Kenyans trust you that when you take office, should you be approved, that you will literally do what they call biting the bullet and fight the power cartels in power generation and sale with the PPA agreements that are there, to make sure that Kenyans eventually can enjoy lower costs of power? Because there is power that is cheaper and it's there. But we are still on thermal energy. When we have cheaper geothermal energy, we have cheaper wind energy, we have cheaper solar energy. Can we get that assurance from you that you can bite the bullet, relook at many of those contracts, of course within the law, that were procured corruptly to the great detriment of the people of Kenya?
You hold, we'll take another one. Junet.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to put to the nominee that, Mr. Speaker, the nominee is somebody known to me very well, having been his whip for now 2-3 years in Parliament. And there is somebody who believes, the way I know him, he stands with on what he believes. But having said that, I want to tell him that working in Parliament, the way we have worked in Parliament together as a whip and a minority leader, and working in the executive are two different things, two different ball games completely. Having said that, I want to ask him that there are issues that are of energy in nature that require immediate attention. For example, issues of electrification. You know very well, nominee, that there are places, you know and I know, who have not seen electricity since God created Kenya. They are still in darkness. You know very well that those places have suffered quite some time, and they need urgent help, attention. But promises have been given year in, year out by people who have taken up jobs like the way you're taking. So what Marshall Plan or what measures are you thinking of to help in the next 3 years those areas that have not seen light, not the light of God, but the light of human being, who have not seen it? What are you planning? Secondly, that is last mile. My final question is, this country, the way it is now, and your predecessor, the nominee that was holding your docket, has come here to be vetted on for another docket. He has said that the networks and the systems of the electricity has gone down because of non-repair or something like that for many years. So it requires a lot of money to be upgraded. And I asked him about these shutdowns that happen in the country, that affect airports, that affect even hospitals sometimes. I am praying that it does not happen when you are the minister, if you are approved. But what are you thinking? What are you planning to do about that matter? Because Kenyans are sick and tired of missing electricity without any notice. Thank you very much.
You can answer those.
Yes, Honorable Speaker. Let me start with the Honorable Majority Leader's question about corruption within the energy sector and whether I am prepared to deal with it. Honorable Speaker, my stand on corruption also remains unchanged. I may not be an angel, but I can tell you, Honorable Speaker, throughout my life, yes, I have fought very, very seriously against corruption in all its manifestations. Honorable Speaker, there are two problems with the matter of the IPPs from where I sit. And I want to explain a little bit. First and foremost, our energy sector has undergone or is supposed to be undergoing what we call unbundling. Unlike many other jurisdictions which have got a vertical integration kind of structure, our sector has been unbundled, and therefore we have got agencies or entities that do the drilling of the wells if it comes to geothermal. There are entities that do the generation of power itself, entities that transmit, ultimately entities that distribute to the consumers. Honorable Speaker, we have these IPPs largely at the generation level, where they compete with state entities such as KenGen and to some extent even GDC. And I'll come to that later again. Honorable Speaker, when it comes to the point of generation, I have noticed a problem that I will have to tackle head on. One, you know that in our mix of energy sources, geothermal is one of the clean energy sources and the cheapest. In fact, Honorable Speaker, Kenya is lucky. It is the 6th largest source of geothermal and in the world. In the world, Honorable Speaker. We are lucky because if you had a look at a satellite image or picture of the Earth, we fall within what we call the ring of fire. Those are areas where we have got geothermal resources worldwide. Kenya happens to be within that region. And therefore, we are blessed as a country to have geothermal resources that could help our energy be among the cheapest, Honorable Speaker. But what do you see? GDC, which is supposed to do what we call de-risking, yes, because not every private player can do the drilling of the wells. So GDC is supported by taxpayers' money to do the drilling and therefore allow the sites to be commercially utilized by other players, including KenGen. But now you find that GDC has dug the wells. They have identified, they have got the sites which are ready for development commercially. And you find that licenses for a number of those sites have been given to private entities, these so-called IPPs, a number of whom are not utilizing the sites. They have kept them for purposes of speculation. And therefore starving KenGen, which has got excess capacity of opportunities to generate more power, or geothermal power for that matter. Okay? So the country is losing on that account alone. Persons who have been given licenses, what we call geothermal concessions, and they are holding those licenses, which are public assets in my view, whilst KenGen, which is a publicly owned entity, at least by 70%, has the capacity, the expertise, the resources, is not able to get access to those sites to be able to generate for us energy. So that I will have to deal with. But I will have to deal with them by way of first engaging with the Attorney General to see what we can do. What we can do about these licenses that are remaining idle without necessarily exposing the country, of course, okay, to litigation and the likes. But eventually to see to it that in the new dispensation, if such licenses are to be issued, there must be conditions. That you get a license, but you have got certain terms. within which to play. That is one. Two, it is this animal that we call take or pay. These are IPPs which have been given, which have signed PPAs, the power producing agreements, with Kenya Power and Lighting Company. And the agreement is such that whatever they generate, you either take it, or if you don't take it, you still pay for it. So really, that is not sustainable. And they are very, very, very long-term agreements, some running to as long as 20 years. Again, I will have to engage the Office of the Attorney General on how to deal with this. But eventually, because I'm aware that there is currently a moratorium on the engagement of IPPs following the Presidential Task Force on PPAs that was established earlier in 2021. Even if that moratorium is lifted eventually, we shall have to ensure that whatever PPAs we get into do not put us in that or in such a situation. As a matter of fact, my view is that eventually, because currently we have a very robust legal framework, since the enactment of the Energy Act of 2019, one of my first duties within 100 days, if I am lucky to be approved, would be to ensure that the requisite regulations are brought to fruition, because there are different stages of processing, so that the country can benefit fully, can reap the full potential from this robust legislative framework. But then, if it comes to that, I foresee a situation where this country will not need this kind of lopsided agreements. We may actually want to have an energy auction kind of situation, where you generate your energy, take it to the auction floor, as it were, and then we buy when we need it as consumers, through KPLC, of course. Okay? That is a futuristic view, my Honorable Speaker. Let me quickly go to the next question, because I'm trying to be, okay. Yes, I understand Honorable Junet's view that the executive is not like Parliament. I'm here to experience that because, Honorable Speaker, you know, I've never worked in the executive throughout my life.
You will get to learn.
Yes, so I will get to learn. And I'm a first learner, I believe, Honorable Speaker. So I don't have any qualms that I will be able to fit in fairly well. Honorable Speaker, the immediate issues, which are of concern to nearly all members of the National Assembly, I being one of them, at least for now. The issue of rural electrification, the issue of last mile. Honorable Speaker, I said from the outset that our energy sector is supposed to have been unbundled. But I must add that that unbundling is not yet complete. Why do I say so? You still find Kenya Power and Lighting Company competing with REREC in last mile connections. Honorable Speaker, Kenya Power and Lighting Company is a publicly listed company. It's supposed to be running commercially. It's supposed to be profit motivated, if you ask me. And therefore, it cannot be able to do what NEREC was envisaged to do. That is to extend power.
Nominee.
Yes.
I want to guide you.
Yes.
You have been nominated to be the CS Energy and Petroleum. Instead of pontificating on what they are, tell us, if you are confirmed, what do you want to do with them? That will be your vision, and that will be your message to the country. Because when you engage in a complaining type of narrative, it doesn't give hope to the country.
Let me endeavor to give hope now to the country. Honorable Speaker, Therefore,
Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
Speaker, the nominee is trying to shed off the opposition leadership slowly. So
he said
doing what the energy called load shedding. He's shedding.
He said he's a very fast learner. So now he's learned already.
Thank you for the
Yes.
guidance, Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
Let me say this. Really,
Even those parastatals you're talking about, they are going to be under your watch.
Okay,
So
let me
you
say
tell
this.
us what you want them to be.
As a policy direction,
Yes.
I would endeavor, first and foremost, to separate or to reduce the overlap, okay, in the functions of KPLC and REREC, okay, and to empower REREC fully to be able to undertake the mandate of last mile connections, okay, so that KPLC can concentrate, can focus on this commercial function, business. Is that better, Honorable Speaker?
You are trying.
Okay.
Yes.
Finally, Honorable Speaker, on Honorable Junet's question, it is indeed true that we have got fairly dilapidated infrastructure, especially for transmission. Again, you must also understand that these are legacy problems. Before the coming into being of KETRACO, it was the sole duty of or mandate of KPLC to do the whole business from generation to distribution. Some of this infrastructure was inherited, and some improvements have been done, but there's still room for further improvement, especially if we have to take electricity, optimally to those who need it. Honorable Speaker, we have situations where we are not able to evacuate power from the generators, okay, to the end user because of lack of transmission capacity. That's something I'll be working closely with the agencies in my docket to be able to fast track the modernization of the infrastructure. And especially when it comes to the last mile connectivity, we are going to work closely with REREC together with KPLC again, by way of engaging with the development partners to be able to finance this process. I'm aware, Honorable Speaker, before I conclude, that there was a proposal in the now defunct Finance Act 2024 for some money for each constituency. But as a matter of fact, 50 million shillings. In the budget, yes. In the budget, yes. Now that has been removed in the wake of the withdrawal of the Finance Bill 2024. But let me assure my colleague members and the public generally that even with that, all is not lost. We are going to work very systematically with the REREC and KPLC to engage the development partners to help us finance this function. Indeed, even as we speak, there is a project going on which is being funded by the World Bank, okay, in terms of extending powers to those areas where the national grid has not reached, what we call the off-grids. And they have been very helpful, Honorable Speaker. I must commend the management of both KPLC and REREC, because as we speak, there are islands on Lake Victoria which previously had no power. And since the national grid cannot be extended to those areas economically, they have resorted to the off-grid power production, which is really helping those areas. We want to extend this to other areas, especially the far-flung areas of northeastern, okay? Yes, to use solar power to be able to light up those areas.
Thank you.
Yes.
Naisula?
To the nominee, there has been talk about breaking Kenya Power.